You ready? I am calling to order this hearing. This is a hearing or roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chairman of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. The time is 11:20 in the morning. And this hearing concerns the mayor's nomination of 4 individuals to the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. Specifically, PR 25-282, which would confirm the appointment of Mr. Warner Session to the Board of Trustees. PR 25-283, which would confirm the reappointment of Dr. Carolyn Rudd to the Board of Trustees. PR 25-284, which would confirm the reappointment of Ken Grossinger to the Board of Trustees. And PR 25-295, which would confirm the appointment of Lamont Akins to the Board of Trustees. Each of these nominations was submitted to the council on Thursday, June 15th, 2023. Too late for our ability to act on them before yesterday's or at yesterday's legislative meeting. But we're having this roundtable today, and it's a roundtable because the notice wasn't quite as long as required for a hearing. A distinction that's of meaning to us, but not necessarily anyone else. We're having the roundtable today so that we will be in a position, assuming that there isn't a lot of opposition, I'm looking at an empty chamber, that we would be able to move quickly in September or the first Tuesday of October when the council comes back from its recess. Each of these appointments are for a term of 5 years. That is for a term that expires May 15th, 2028. This roundtable serves as an opportunity for the committee to hear from constituents, students, faculty, and others with regard to the fitness of these 4 individuals to serve on the university's Board of Trustees. And the university's Board of Trustees, or I should say the Board of Trustees for the University of the District of Columbia, is the governing body for the district's institution of higher education. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, the record will close at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, July 26, 2023. Why do I say that? We're required to file a record. We can receive comments and statements from anybody who wants to up to the time that we vote, but we have to file a record, and that record will be filed based on whatever we have received by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, July 26th. So I look forward to hearing the testimony from the nominees. However, we have a council member present, Matt Truman, if you want to make an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson. I will make a very brief opening statement that'll include the apology that I can't stay. I may be able to come back if you're still going. I have somebody coming to my office in 5 minutes, but I'm very excited about each of your nominees. I think this is an incredibly exciting time for the University of the District of Columbia. President Mason has done a great job of stabilizing the institution, getting it on the right track. I think Dr. Eddington is going to bring an energy and a kind of experience to the project that is really very, very welcome. And I love the fact that he and President Mason seem to be working well together. And I think we can really build together, you as the trustees, us as the city government trying to be supportive. And I do hope that we can seize this opportunity to really move the university forward, and glad to be able to work in partnership with you all as we do that. Some of you I've known for a long time. Warner, it's great to see you. It's great to bring your expertise, Ms. Rudd, Mr. Akins. I don't see Ken Grossinger, but I think it's a great team, adding on to what's already a great board of trustees. So let's go forward and do good things together.
Thank you, Councilmember. If the nominees, hold on, actually, well, why don't you make your way to the table? We have one public witness, but I don't believe she's here. Giovanni Rusto? Don't believe she's here. And there's three of you at the table, and I'm told that Mr. Grossinger is out of town, but is participating virtually. So we'll see how that works.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I
This
can
is
hear
Ken
you.
Grossinger.
Yes, I can hear and see you.
Okay, great.
And the fact that you're virtual doesn't get you off the hooks. I can still throw things at you if I want to.
It'd be a long way to Colorado.
Okay. So let me see. Why don't we begin? I think I'm going to do this in resolution order. So Mr. Session, you want to go first?
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and Council Member Fruman. Thank you for this opportunity to appear before you today in support of my nomination to the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. I am Warner Session, founder and principal of Session Law Firm in the District of Columbia. I want to first thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for this tremendous opportunity for public service. I am excited and eager to get started. I'm absolutely confident that I will bring value, wisdom, and vision to the UDC board. My confidence stems from my over 40 years of active engagement in the political, public, and professional affairs of the District of Columbia. I came to Washington in 1979 to attend Georgetown University Law School. Upon graduation, I joined the staff of Ward 8 Councilmember William J. Rolark as a staff attorney. It was in Councilmember Rolark's office right here in the Wilson Building that I first became embedded in the District of Columbia Public Policy Matters and have the opportunity to work on important issues of the day, such as bail reform and public safety. After leaving the council, I worked on Capitol Hill for a House Oversight Committee chaired by the Honorable Curtis Collins. In 1992, I left the Hill and formed Session Law Firm, where I have been for the last 31 years. While building a law practice, I continue to be active in District of Columbia affairs as a member of the DC Bar and was appointed by Mayor Marion Berry to serve on the Human Rights Commission. I also worked closely with the council and the executive office of the mayor over many years on small and minority business issues, helping to shape legislation, which we now know as the Certified Business Enterprise Law, to advance and promote the utilization of local district firms. In 2011, I was appointed by Mayor Vince Gray to the board of the Washington Airports Authority, Washington Metropolitan Airports Authority, National and Dulles Airports, and reappointed by Mayor Muriel Bowser in 2017. During my 12 years on the MWA board, I served 4 years as vice chairman, 2 years as chairman. That time was well spent as I was able to substantially expand the number of DC-based businesses that were able to pursue opportunities at the Airport Authority. I'm particularly proud of being able to enhance the collaboration between UDC and the Airports Authority. Mr. Chairman, as you know, UDC operates an aircraft maintenance training facility at one of the hangars at National Airport. It was through that collaboration that I came to know and work with President Ron Mason. I expect to build on that success of that program as a trustee. I will approach this assignment as a UDC trustee the same way as I've with all my professional tasks that I have undertaken. I will begin with a very proactive onboarding process that will entail meeting with former and current trustees, as Dr. Rudd, meeting with new president, Dr. Maurice Eddington, and members of his senior staff, and collecting information and intelligence on best practices in higher education and similarly situated institutions such as UDC. I will work to gain a deep understanding of what UDC's challenges have been over the years and make best efforts to find creative and sustainable solutions. I will also explore new policies to enhance student support services and academic programs to improve outcomes. Further, I will focus attention on infrastructure and facilities to make sure that they meet the highest standards. Finally, I will seek to leverage the considerable professional and civic resources that I now enjoy Through my current participation in the DC Bar, Federal City Council, and other organizations such as the DC Statehood PAC, Thurgood Marshall Center Trust, and President Lincoln's Cottage. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to testify before this committee of the whole. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sessions. Dr. Rudd?
Good morning to the Honorable Phil Menderson, Chair of the District of Columbia City Council, and the Council Member Fruman. Thank you to the Committee of the Whole for scheduling this hearing on my behalf. And a very special thanks to the Honorable Muriel Bowser, Mayor of our city, for my nomination for reappointment to the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. For the record, I am Carolyn B. Rudd, a third-decade resident of the District of Columbia, residing in Ward 4. As president of CRP Incorporated, I am pleased to note that in September, we will celebrate 35 successful years in the management consulting industry. Prior to starting CRP, I held management positions at 2 historically Black colleges and universities in the metropolitan area, namely Bowie State University and Howard University. Prior to that, I was a faculty member and later a project director at my alma mater, Virginia State University. From the time I located my office to Connecticut Avenue almost 30 years ago, I had an eye on UDC. Since CRP's inception, I have hired 6 UDC graduates, including CRP's longest serving employee of over 30 years, who managed the firm's largest federal government contract. As a result of career mentoring and employment opportunities, all 6 employees were able to pursue a career path within CRP. To whom much is given, much is expected. I have worked with several community organizations in the district, including Credit Services of Greater Washington, the YWCA, the DC Rape Crisis Center, Bright Beginnings, and the Urban Alliance. Other examples of my local community involvement include serving on the boards of Family Matter of Greater Washington, the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice, Leadership Greater Washington, the DC Commission for Women, and the DC Chamber. As a current member of the Board of Trustees of UDC, I can offer an awareness of issues and challenges affecting higher education attributable to numerous relevant experiences and accomplishments. I believe that I can continue to contribute to the board because of my diverse and successful experiences as a faculty member, an administrator, a fundraiser, a proposal developer with knowledge of federal agencies, and an entrepreneur operating in a market of high technology and innovation. I can also contribute to the Board of Trustees by working collaboratively with the other board members, as I have done in my first term. Additionally, I think my understanding of the higher education landscape, including accreditation, administration and governance, curriculum and teaching, as well as the general philosophy of higher education with a focus on students of color, will prove beneficial to my continued success and effectiveness on the board. Since I was appointed to the Board of Trustees in 2018, I have been committed to enhancing UDC's reputation and stature as a pace setter in urban education. As an example, I serve dual roles on the Board of Trustees of the UDC Foundation and as a member of the University Board of Trustees. As a liaison between the UDC Foundation and board, I have worked closely with the Office of Advancement staff in strengthening the foundation's profile and fundraising capacity. As a recently appointed chair of the Operations Committee of the Board of Trustees, My work involves providing oversight to the institution's infrastructure needs, such as renovations, construction, and other capital improvements. As a member of the Student Outcomes Committee of the Board of Trustees, I provide leadership and input on UDC's efforts to measure student success in response to increased demands for accountability. I will also provide continuity on the university's transition to its new president, Dr. Maurice Eddington. I will help Dr. Eddington to advance the UDC's strategic planning efforts, navigate UDC's institutional culture, and forge key relationships with the business community. In addition, based on my experiences, I believe that I can make continued and noteworthy contributions to further the legislative mission of the university, focusing on multiple institutional imperatives. More specifically, I'm seeking to be reappointed to the board to build on my proven and tested commitment to UDC and to spearhead institutional priorities, including addressing student enrollment and retention, diversifying UDC's revenue streams, and continuing UDC's strategic planning process. The board is aware of UDC's declining enrollment trends, which mirror national patterns exacerbated by the pandemic. However, the institution enrollment figures for this spring, 2023, were slightly higher than last spring's number. Recognizing high enrollment is a significant driver of institutional revenue, I will work diligently and aggressively with other board members and UDC administrators to attract and retain students. I plan to work with the Office of Advancement Staff in building on the philanthropic momentum the university has experienced over the past couple of years. Last year, my contributions included a fundraising brief my staff provided and prepared pro bono that outlined fundraising strategies for increasing private philanthropic support at UDC. In addition, as a former chair of the DC Chamber of Commerce and as a former member of the Greater Washington Board of Trade, I am prepared to leverage my relationships with the business community to increase an impact of private fundraising at the institution. Currently, the new 5-year strategic plan is being developed that builds on UDC's first equity imperative conducted under President Ron Mason's. I have contributed to the planning and design of the new plan and will be closely involved in the Board of Trustees review and approval of the plan scheduled for later this year. In closing, UDC is poised and well-positioned to be a leader among our nation's historically Black colleges and universities by meeting the future workforce needs of the Greater Washington region and by making higher education more accessible to marginalized groups. My testimony demonstrates and reaffirms my commitment to this vision. Equally important as a trustee, I will continue to give a 100% plus 100% effort to have my tenure contribute to establishing UDC as the public university model of urban student success. I thank you again to Mira Bowser for her nomination and to Chairman Mendelson and the council for your sincere consideration. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rudd. Ken
Thank you.
Grossinger.
Chairman Mendelson and members of the committee, thank you for considering appointing me to a second term on the UDC Board of Trustees. Mayor Bowser, thank you for nominating me and giving me an opportunity to serve the district in such an important way. Since joining the UDC board, I've worked in numerous roles to advance the university's mission. Shortly after joining the board, I became chair of the operations committee, which you just heard about from Dr. Rudd, a role that I have served in for most of my first term. Along with carrying out other routine committee duties, I instituted more frequent reporting requirements in such areas as safety, so we can better analyze and monitor performances and practices that are working or are in need of change. Like all universities and city agencies, I dove deeply into the best protective practices to prevent the spread of COVID. This past year, I gave up my role as chair of the operations committee to become the chair of the audit, budget, and finance committee and a member of the board's executive committee. In addition, I was one of 3 UDC board members who served on the search committee to select the new UDC president, Dr. Maurice Eddington, who was unanimously approved by the board. I've also leveraged my role on the board of trustees of the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden to create and facilitate a new internship program for our art students. I arranged meetings with Hirshhorn director Melissa Chu and her staff, and with President Mason and his staff to explore the feasibility of creating a pilot program whereby a UDC art student can work at the Hirshhorn with a paid internship, in the hope that this would create a pipeline for UDC art students into the art market. I'm proud to report that it worked well, and that the Hirshhorn offered this first student intern a part-time job. I know that's only one job and only one student, but that's where it begins. Together with the university, they've launched an annual internship program for UDC art students, which I hope will expand to include other students. With the addition of Dr. Eddington to our campus, UDC is positioned to move to the next level with greater fundraising, student retention, and graduation rates, and more. These are some of the demonstrable skills Dr. Eddington brings with him, and I'm looking forward to supporting his work and that of the university. It's been my delight to serve out my first term on the UDC board, and I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to testify before the committee and for your strong commitment and support for education and UDC in the district. I'm happy to respond to your questions or those of other council members.
Thank you, Mr. Grossinger. And Mr. Akins.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. I am Lamont Akins, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. I'm deeply grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of the District of Columbia. I have been a district resident for 18 years in the Brightwood Park neighborhood of Ward 4, and over the past 17 years, I've had the pleasure of serving my community as a former ANC commissioner, as a past member of the DC Human Rights Commission, and as a past member of the Kennedy Street Revitalization Advisory Board. These opportunities have afforded me the experience of engaging with my neighbors about how to improve and grow our neighborhoods. I have always enjoyed speaking with our neighbors on how to revitalize our community, making it a better place that was open to new businesses, new housing options, and new neighbors. I currently work with PEPCO as a senior manager for strategic initiatives and external engagement. In my role at PEPCO, I have 2 key functions. I create and execute awareness campaigns to increase our engagement opportunities in the community, and I build awareness, visibility of our community activities to external stakeholders. This position affords me the opportunity to engage with residents across all 8 wards in the district. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to serve in different positions in local government throughout Washington, D.C. Most recently, I served as a district government employee for 10 years in various capacities, including in an agency, in a council member's office, and in the mayor's office. In my last role with the district government, I served as the director of the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. In that role, I created connection opportunities between district residents and the mayor. I established partnerships with communities, and I worked with community organizations, civic groups, and ANCs on matters that were important to their communities. In my spare time, I serve on the board of directors for Step Africa. Step Africa is a renowned dance company dedicated to promoting African and African-American culture through the art of stepping. By serving on the board, I have the opportunity to contribute to the preservation and promotion of this important cultural heritage. For the past 5 years, serving on the board of directors of Step Africa has been a rewarding and impactful experience. Today, I come before the council for your consideration of my nomination to serve on the board of trustees for the University of the District of Columbia. It would be a privilege for me to serve on the Board of Trustees for UDC because I am a proud graduate and product of a historically Black college and university, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Just like UDC, UAPB has a rich history and played a significant role in providing a quality education to underrepresented communities. As an HBCU graduate, I will bring a unique perspective and experience to the table. Graduating from an HBCU demonstrates my commitment to diversity and inclusion in education. HBCUs have had a longstanding tradition of nurturing and supporting minority students, and my presence on the board will bring a valuable perspective on the importance of diverse voices and experiences. As I matriculated at an HBCU, I was exposed to the challenges and barriers faced by underrepresented communities in accessing higher education. This understanding will contribute to my informed decision-making process that address the specific needs of minority students and ensure their success. We all know that UDC plays a crucial role in promoting educational equity and opportunity. I gained firsthand experience from an HBCU that equips me to advocate for the importance of UDC and the unique value UDC brings to higher education. By serving on the board, I can be an advocate for increased support, resources, and recognition for UDC. As the University of the District of Columbia continues to move forward under the new leadership of the incoming 10th University President, Dr. Maurice Eddington, if confirmed, I will look forward to working with him to foster a relationship of collaboration. Under Dr. Eddington's leadership, I will contribute to the development and improvement of higher education at the University of the District of Columbia. I would advocate for equitable access to quality education, particularly for underrepresented and marginalized communities, by working closely with university administrators and fellow board members to ensure that UDC remains inclusive and affordable. I would actively engage with the community, understand its needs, and contribute to the university efforts in addressing those needs. This involvement could have a positive impact on the lives of students, faculty, staff, and the surrounding community. And I would engage with UDC alumni to foster a strong network of support for the university. With this involvement on the board, I can help strengthen alumni relations, encourage financial contributions, and support initiatives that benefit current and future UDC students. In closing, I find it to be an honor for me to serve on the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. I will have the opportunity to make a meaningful contribution to the development of future generations. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I will be happy to respond to questions from you and the members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akins. Thank you, each of you, for your testimony and your willingness to serve. I think where I want to start is with this question. Dr. Rudd, so you've been on the board for 3, 4 years, 5 years. Roughly how much time does it take?
That's difficult for me to say, but it's very demanding. There are, of course, the quarterly board meetings, but then if you're involved with the committees, so it's demanding. I can't give you an exact number of hours, but it's demanding, but it's rewarding and demanding.
Let me try Mr. Grossinger. Roughly how much time does it take for you in your service on the board?
Thanks for the question, Chairman Mendelson. As the chair, former chair of the Operations Committee, I would spend 2 to 3 hours a week talking with the COO and other members of the UDC administration. There are, as Dr. Rudd said, the quarterly meetings. There are the strategic planning committee meetings. There are meetings galore. And I also think it's difficult to quantify. If I had to guess, I would say 15 hours a month.
I was about to say maybe 20, 15 to 20.
Dr. Rudd, you're saying maybe 20 hours. Now, why am I asking this question? Because I'm now going to ask all 4 of you. I'll start with you, Dr. Rudd. So upon reappointment for 4 or 5 years, do you have the time to commit?
Yes, I do. As I said, my company is 35 years old. I have a great team of managers who can do the work. And fortunate for me, I can run right across the street. My office is directly across the street from the university. So yes, I have the time and I'm committed to providing the time that is required. And I'm even more excited because we are getting a new president. So yes, I do have the time and it's not going to be an issue for me.
And Mr. Grosinger, since you know how much time it takes, do you have the time to commit for another 5 years?
I absolutely have the time and I'm motivated and I expect to be putting in more time than I had in the past 5 years working with Dr. Eddington as we get sort of our new chapter underway.
And Mr. Sessions, so you just recently came off the MWA board, which I think required more time. Do you have the time to commit for UDC service?
Now that I'm off the MWA board, the answer is unequivocal, yes. And as you know, joining that board, it was like drinking out of a fire hose. So I'm no stranger to a demanding board position. I'm happy and eager and ready to go.
And Mr. Aiken?
Yes, Chairman, I do have the time to commit. As many know, early this spring, PEPCO committed over $2 million for the next 3 years to UDC. So my company is fully aware of my appointment or my nomination to this board, and we are committed to it.
Thank you. So all of you said yes. I submitted this to you all as a written question, and by the way, I got answers from all of you, so thank you for that. But I always ask this question anyway. Are you current in your taxes and liabilities to the district and federal government? I'll start with Mr. Session.
Yes, I'm current on all payments to the District of Columbia.
Dr. Rudd?
Yes, I personally am Karen and my company is also Karen.
Mr. Grosinger?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Aiken?
Yes, I'm current.
And the other question I always ask is about conflicts of interest. I don't know if there would be any, but I asked the question anyway. And that is, do you see that there might be any possible conflicts of interest with your service? And if there are, what would you do? Mr. Session?
No current conflicts of interest. I'm well aware of how that works. I'm a member of the DC Bar. I'm guided by the Code of Professional Responsibility. So if a conflict arises, I have to disclose it and appropriately recuse myself if there's an apparent or actual conflict of interest.
Dr. Rudd?
No, Karen, and I don't foresee any conflict of interest. And since I'm following the attorney here, I'll ditto his conversations regarding the legal aspects of a conflict that I would report it immediately.
Mr. Grosinger?
I have no conflict of interests, and like the others, were one to arise, I would disclose it and recuse myself from any voting participation.
And Mr. Aiken?
I don't believe I have any conflicts of interest. I know that the funding that PEPCO gave to the university went through the foundation. So of course, if any business comes before the board dealing with the foundation, I will make it aware that we have given to the foundation and recuse myself.
Although you might check with general counsel to see if you'd have to recuse yourself.
Yes,
It
I
is
will do that.
important to
Yes,
disclose.
sir.
Thank you, each of you, for that. Dr. Rudd, there were a couple of things in your statement that intrigued me. One was you said you would like to work on diversifying UDC's revenue streams, and then you said that with your staff, company staff, you prepared a fundraising brief that outlined fundraising strategies for increasing private philanthropic support at UDC. Could you elaborate?
I should have brought the document with me, but I have a staff member that I loaned to the University Office of Advancement to help them with identifying strategies and putting together a plan to do additional fundraising, particularly within foundations and looking at some of the philanthropic individuals, if you will, throughout the country. That document is available in the Office of Institutional Advancement. I can have Mr. Trapp send that to you. And it was very helpful as the foundation board sought a consultant firm to work with them on fundraising. So we gave a lot of great ideas.
So this was really through the foundation rather than the trustees directly.
I am the liaison from the board to the foundation, and I did it as a member of the foundation board. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do Do you see, but I'll follow up. Do you see a lot of opportunities for fundraising?
I do. And as I sat in on the interviews with Dr. Eddington, and for me, I got a double dose because I sat during the interview with the board, with him, and then also the foundation. He has a lot of good ideas and contacts that I think we can weave into our foundation strategic plan. And I think there are some opportunities that we can look at to broaden the fundraising aspects of the university. And of course, you know, there are not so many places you can go for funding. And it's a matter of building relationships. And I think Dr. Eddington is going to bring to the table some new relationships that he's had the opportunity to be introduced to as his various capacities at his former institution, FAMU. And I think those will definitely be a great asset to the University of the District of Columbia.
You know, let me just say that the university has right now two primary sources of income. One is enrollment, and the other is the subsidy from the district government. And we've been able to increase the subsidy over the years. I think that when I began oversight, it was around 70 million a year, maybe a little less, and now it's in the 90s,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes.
I think the university identified a couple of years ago, they would like to see a subsidy of about 110 million. We may get there, but it may take some time to get there. So I think that being able to do fundraising is important. I believe when Ron Mason came to the university, there was no development office and there was virtually no fundraising. I mean, when I say virtually no, I think we're talking about in the hundreds of thousands at best a year. The council implemented a incentive, which
Yeah, the
was, and
match.
we still continue it. I think we put $1 million in the budget, which the university gets on a dollar for dollar matching basis if it raises. Some years we're a little harder and we stay 2 for 1. You raise $2, you'll get 1 from us. It's, I think at this point, really more about the university being able to show to the private sector, hey, the district is in this, even though we're in it anyway, because we've got that, what, $90 million subsidy. But I do think fundraising is important. And I think the development office is fairly new.
Well, there was an Office of Institutional Advancement, but this is what has happened, Chairman Mendelson. And let me just say for the record, we do appreciate very much what you've done with the match program. I think even one year we asked if you would allow a 2-to-1 and you did that. And we appreciate that because it's been a great benefit to us to have those dollars to help with scholarships for our students. But with regards to just general, the Office of Advancement, oftentimes we get into a conversation, we start talking about, well, you know, Harvard this and Harvard. We will never be a Harvard. We'll never be, well, I shouldn't say we never be. We're not a Harvard. We're not a Georgetown. We're not even a GW. So I say that in terms of the staffing for the office. We're now in the process of hiring individuals to supplement the lack of staffing in that office. Right now, I think Mr. Trapp has 2 individuals. We just hired a consultant firm who's going to work with us to help us identify some others. But what has happened is that individuals come to the University of the District of Columbia, work in the Office of Advancement. They learn a lot and then they go because we have not been able to keep them because of the pay scale. That has been a problem. But we're working to do that. It takes a lot in terms of staffing and Office of Advancement, and that's where we need support. We need support to help fund that staffing issue for the Office of Advancement.
Well, that may be an issue between the trustees and the president and how to change the pay scale. We did put some money in the budget. I didn't think we were going to be able to do to enable the university to increase its pay.
Yes.
But this is like, I mean, you're just constrained and you only get so much money from enrollment. And of course, you're trying to increase enrollment and you're not not going to be able to get a lot more from the district government in the subsidy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm supportive, but even if I can get more money in there, it's not going to be a lot. But you can raise as much money as you can raise.
We understand that, and we also know that housing is a detriment to our enrollment. And we think that if we could possibly get some housing, not only would we provide housing for students in DC who need a college experience, I think around the country, UDC would be so attractive to young people. It's affordable. A lot of them want to be in Washington, DC. They can't afford the Howard University tuition. They can't afford the Georgetown University. And UDC is a great school. It has a great curriculum and great professors. And I think if we had some housing, we could increase our enrollment, which would in turn increase the revenue on that side of the house.
Thank you. Let me ask Mr. Grossinger, since you are up for reappointment, what challenges do you see before the university? You can draw on your experience over the last 4 years, what you see going forward.
I think the key cornerstones would be enrollment, retention, and graduation. As Dr. Rudd said earlier, our numbers have been increasing in each of those areas, but they're not enough. They're not sufficient. And it's one of the skill sets that Dr. Eddington brings with him. He's demonstrated he can work effectively in each of those areas. And I think that's going to be among our greatest challenges, including, I would say, sort of a pipeline into the market. I really enjoyed your questions to Dr. Potter regarding the social work program, because that's another avenue into the market because of the field placements that take place. So if I had to pick 3 or 4 of those are the ones I would pick.
Enrollment, retention, and graduation.
Yes.
Thank you. You don't have to, but Mr. Aiken or Mr. Session, if you want to speak to challenges as you perceive them, you don't have the experience of 4 years on the trustees, so you may not, but if you want.
Yeah, I don't have the experience, but I do know that a good university requires recruitment and having a strong alumni network. Alumni should be able to help assist the university in recruiting students across this great country we live in. As I go across our city, I come in contact with so many great alumni that have a very good story to tell how they got to the university and what they're doing today. So hopefully I can get on the board and help with that alumni network and increase recruitment to the university.
I too do not have direct experience. I don't know what I don't know yet, but let me just say that I am excited as I sit here and listen to the testimony of my 2 colleagues that they bring extraordinary amount of resources and entrepreneurship to the task. And of course, Dr. Rudd being a former chair of the DC Chamber, I think there's a great opportunity to outreach to the business community. I often say in terms of myself, I'm really an entrepreneur disguised as a lawyer. So I too believe that I know I can bring a lot of creativity into the educational space through my experience in the business world. So I'm excited to hear about their bona fides, and I believe once we begin the work of being trustees, and of course Dr. Rudd having already been a trustee and Mr. Grossinger, there will be a great opportunity for us to widen the net and to meet those challenges of enrollment, retention, and graduation.
Thank you. Give me just a second. I don't have any other questions for you all. Thank you very much. So for the 2 of you who are up for reappointment, thank you for your service. And to all 4 of you, thank you for your willingness to serve. As I indicated at the beginning, these nominations came too late for us to be able to act before the recess, but my intent is to present them to the council at our September 19th meeting. That's not a guarantee, that's the intent. And if we have questions, we'll follow up. If you have any questions or anything additional you want to give us, please do that. And with that, I'm going to conclude this hearing. The record, as I indicated before, is open for 2 weeks. That means it closes on, I lost my notice, whatever 2 weeks is from today. 5 o'clock, 2 weeks from today. I think it's 26.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for allowing us to testify, and thank you for your support of the University of the District of Columbia. It's a great school and we intend to make it even greater.
I agree and thank you. The time is 12:05 PM and this hearing is, or roundtable is adjourned.